Hi, I'm Jan Berg, the president of the Church Council. Today we renew the partnership we have with our Lord in this ministry in and through the Lutheran Church of Christ the King. Later in this service, as we come forward to offer our gifts and receive the gift of Holy Communion, we will also pick up our 2016 commitment cards. Following the message by Devlyn Brooks and Steve Henrikson, they will explain the process for picking up and filling out the cards. Christ the King has a vibrant ministry at this time and a bright future on the horizon. Key to this future is the funding of our mortgage through our annual budget, our monthly house payment, if you will. The mortgage payment on our beautiful and functional church building is 24% of our annual budget. Thanking you in advance for taking this into consideration as you pray over and plan your financial gifts to Christ the King in 2016. We are in a great place here at Christ the King. We have a great staff all working together. Our council has been working diligently to be good stewards of these gifts we receive, and we thank you, all of you, for all that you do. Remember, we are blessed to be a blessing. Thank you.
Good morning. Today's reading from Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 through 9. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What gain have the workers from their toil? Good morning. My name is Devlyn Brooks, and I am on the church council here, and I'm proud to be giving today's message. Thank you. About 10 months ago, Pastor Matt asked if I would serve on the stewardship council, or on the stewardship committee for the council. A daunting task, of course. I knew I was being asked to serve alongside a very dedicated church council member, Steve, whom you will hear from later, and who has guided the stewardship committee for a long time. I knew that come fall, we'd be tasked with explaining to our congregation our annual stewardship needs. And unknown to me at the time, I knew that we would be asking to explain to our church leaders, our church congregation, that our leaders had boldly decided to forge forward, merging our mortgage and our operational budgets in an effort to simplify giving. So I gave it some serious thought, but in the end, after all, well, when Pastor Matt asks something, you do it. Fast forward a couple of months, and Pastor Matt and I were sitting at lunch talking about today's message, Reformation Sunday. We were talking about the series of stewardship messages to come, and the talk inevitably turned to our family story here at Christ the King, and I'm proud to share that many of my family members are here in the audience. Matt decided then and there that our story was so symbolic of so many of your stories here at Christ the King. A story of a family finding so much solace, so much peace, so much foundation here in our beloved church. He'd asked if I'd be willing to share that story. Again, fear and doubt rose. It's Reformation Sunday. But after, again, some much serious thought, I realized that yes, our story is exactly why CTK means so much to so many. And after all, when Pastor Matt asks, some of you may know that I teach part-time at NDSU, and the very thing that I tell every writing class is write from the heart. I think I take my own advice today, just speak from the heart. So how many of you know the movie Footloose? A few hands. How many of you know where I'm going with this? A few nods. For many my age, our introduction to today's words, Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 through 9, came from this movie. Produced in 1994. If you haven't seen the movie, in a nutshell, it's about the story of a troubled city teenager who moves to a small Iowa town where rock music and dancing has been banned. And his rebellious spirit kind of shakes up the town. So cue the tension. At the movie's pinnacle, the young character Ren McCormick finds himself in a packed city hall, pleading with the city council to allow the kids in the local high school to have a dance. Dancing had been outlawed several years before because of a terrible accident in which several kids were killed coming home from a dance. But during his impassioned plea, Ren calls upon the words in today's message to convince the council that it's time to drop the dancing ban. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with those words as well. So why are we exploring 1980s movie lore here today in church? Because today's message, which has stuck with me these past 30 years, rang truer for me as Pastor Matt and I sat and talked about the stewardship message than they ever had before. As I looked back on our family's time at CTK, I was struck with how progressively it's become more and more our second home. What started with me seeing a simple sign out here on the corner advertising that CTK was home to Cub Scouts and thinking that it would be a good social activity for my two sons because we just moved here to town, has now grown into a place where it's our family's spiritual center, our foundational stone. And as the church has become more and more a home to us, we found ourselves here more and more. My wife teaches Sunday school. Our youngest son helps out at Sunday school. Our oldest son has went on mission trips. And my dear mother, who happens to be here in the crowd today, served in our nursery for several years. And of course, a while back, I was privileged to be asked to join the council. And it goes on from there. That happened not because someone asked us to, or because we were sent a bill. No, our involvement here at CTK has grown gradually because God helped us come to know that there's a season for everything, including a season to plant. And we know in our hearts that we've been called to plant what we can here at CTK, using our time, our talents, or our treasure. But that was only after a long period of relying upon the church, the pastors, and the staff to help our family reap what we have now. We know we went through our season of reaping, and now we want to plant everything we can so that CTK is here for others. It's tough to talk stewardship, isn't it? It's personal, and it pulls at our rawest emotions. It speaks to our wildest fears. But the last thing I want for you to feel is uncomfortable. Trust me, I get it. We are a family of 6, and sometimes 7, or 8, or 10, depending on how many that our kids drag home with them. We have extras a lot. And so I don't have to tell you about the challenges come payday. But I'm not standing up here to tell you to give. That'd be disingenuous to my family's story, and it'd be disingenuous to God's message. What seeds you plant here at CTK are a conversation between God and your family. But in the coming days, as you mull over your stewardship packet that you are about to receive today, I hope that you consider our family story. Consider how important CTK has been to helping give our family a spiritual center, a faith foundation. And then I ask you to consider, what season are you in? And just maybe it's a season of planting. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to church this morning. Reformation Sunday, very important to all of us. Before I start with my stewardship part of the sermon this morning, I'd like to just relate a story that between myself and my grandson, Austin Grunberg. When Austin was 4 years old, he was staying at our house. They were visiting us from out of town, and Austin and I were sitting at the kitchen table getting ready to have breakfast. And Austin knows how much I love to watch the news, and my favorite show is Meet the Press on Sunday mornings. And the slogan that they have at Meet the Press is, if it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press. So I said that to Austin many, many times. So we were sitting at the breakfast table on Sunday morning, and I said to Austin, if it's Sunday, waiting for him to reply, Meet the Press. I said, Austin, if it's Sunday, it's church. Austin said, it's church. We believe that 100%. Folks, you're in good hands at the Lutheran Church of Christ the King. Our church council is hard at work for you every day. I'd like to just tell you what the Lutheran Church of Christ the King means to me and my family for just 1 minute. Phyllis and I have been married for over 50 years. We have 3 children, Christy, Randy, and Stephanie. They've all been baptized and confirmed at Christ the King. Christy married Steve Wong right here at Christ the King. They have 2 children, Nathan, who graduated from the University of Minnesota this year, and Marissa, who is attending Morehead State. Stephanie married Sean Gruenberg, and they have 2 children, Brianna, who is attending Concordia College, and Austin, who is a sophomore at Morehead High. And our son Randy has married Carrie Haberlack from Minot. They have 2 beautiful girls, Emily, who graduated from NDSU, and Erica, who will be graduating from Mayville State this coming spring. So the church means a lot to us. It's been in our lives forever. I wish Eldon would have been here. Eldon is the one that introduced us to the church. He called one time when we moved back from Minot in the early 70s, invited us to come to Christ the King. And thank you, Eldon. He's in making coffee for our church dinner today. But thank you, Eldon, for inviting us to church. I told you I love my family and I love my church, but there's one more thing I like. I like to watch football. I'm going to just talk football for 1 second. I know this is Bison country, it's Concordia College country, it's MS country, Dragon country, but my favorite team is the University of Minnesota, Golden Gophers. I grew up in Minneapolis, and they've been my favorite team forever and ever. When I'm watching football, I look at the team helmets to see what they say on their team helmets. You ever do that? NDSU, they say the Bison across the front. And Notre Dame, they say Irish across the front. And we had a team visiting Fargo here recently. They're Cavaliers. They have the Cavs written across the front of their helmets. Of course, the professional team from Detroit, they have the Lions. The Chicago team, they have the Bears. And the Packers, Green Bay Packers, they have Packers. But my favorite team is the Golden Gophers. You know what they have on their helmets? I was going to wear this helmet, but it didn't quite fit. They have team. They have team on their helmets. Every player has a helmet, and they has team across the front of their helmet. So when you go in the huddle to listen to your quarterback make the next play, you're looking in his eyes, you're also seeing the word team. It's a team event. So I'm going to organize a team at Christ the King today. We're going to have a CEO. Our CEO is going to be God. Our president's going to be Jesus Christ, God's only begotten Son. We're going to need a manager of our team. We're going to have co-managers. Our pastors are going to be our co-managers. We're going to have some coaches on our team. We have wonderful coaching staff here at Christ the King. our music staff, our religious staff, and our office staff. They all do a wonderful job. We have to have a place to meet. We have to have a place for our team to meet. Let's meet right here at Christ the King. We're going to organize a meeting every Sunday and every Wednesday. We're going to have a team meeting. Okay? If you can't make one of them, try and come to both if you can. We have our coaches. We have our managers. Now we need the players. Everybody here is a player on the team. Everybody that walks through the door at Christ the King is a player on the Christ the King team. We appreciate what you do. Every team has to have a goal. If you're playing football, get the ball over the goal line. If you're playing basketball, you want to get the ball in the basket. Another name for the basket is the goal. If you're playing hockey, you want to get the puck in the goal. If you're playing soccer, you want to get the ball in the goal. Our goal for the Lutheran Church of Christ the King team is 100% commitment on our 2016 stewardship drive. We can do that. We are a great team. We work together. I don't know if Devlyn mentioned this or not, but all of our expenses are paid through what you folks give during the year. We don't have any sponsors. Everything is paid through your giving. If you've been a regular giver, we appreciate that. And when you're thinking about our stewardship drive this year, please consider increasing your giving if you can. If you haven't given on a regular basis before, we have some blank envelopes on each side of the table. If your name isn't in one of our bins today, pick up a blank giving envelope and consider being a regular giver. I was just talking to Matt before the service today. Every year we confirm over 25 children in our church. If you have a family member who was confirmed in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years and they're not giving on a regular basis, maybe pick up an envelope for them and invite them to be a giver at the Lutheran Church of Christ the King. Put my helmet down here for a second. When you receive your envelope today, you're going to receive 4 things in your envelope. There's going to be a letter from the Stewardship Committee. It'll be self-explanatory on what our stewardship drive is all about. And like Matt talked about earlier, we're going to talk about simply giving. There's going to be a form in the envelope explaining simply giving. And if you're a simply giving person right now, and you want to change your simply giving to a different amount, you can fill this form out and bring it to the church office and give it to Joni, our accountant. You're going to receive a blank envelope like this to put your giving card in. This is what our annual fund drive card looks like. And what Joni has done this year, on the left-hand side of the card, it shows what your general fund giving has been this year. On the right-hand side, if you were part of our building fund giving person, it shows a 3-year amount that you gave for the 3 years. She divided that number by 3 and added it to your general fund giving, and that is what your total pledge was for the year 2015. For 2016, we'd like to invite you to, if you could, increase your giving. You can fill out the card up and put your amount that you're going to give for the year on the top part of the card, and then there's 3 boxes on the bottom of the card. You can either give it on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, or once a year, or a giving at the end of the year. But it's very self-explanatory, and we like to have you take the envelope home, prayerfully think about what you're going to be giving to Christ the King for the year 2016, and try and bring your card back, either mail it to the church office or deliver it to the church office, or a lot of the folks like to put them right in the offering plate when they put in their offering envelope. So we'd like to thank you for coming this morning. I have one little closing thing that there's a lot of sports people here that realize that what's the number one baseball stadium in the whole country? Yankee Stadium. It's the house that Ruth built. Babe Ruth, the king of SWAT. He was the home run king until our own Roger Maris hit 61 and 61, which still stands in my heart as the record for most home runs in a season. Folks, this is the house that we built. You can tell your family, your kids, your grandkids, we were part of this facility. Thank you for your giving. Have a great day.